generally the production of synthetic mint derivatives is done by inexpensive and abundant raw materials.
Okay,
Because
okay.
when you are actually manufacturing synthetic aroma chemicals, you have to keep it at a lower price than natural aroma chemicals.
Hmm.
Because it has to be, because see, people will anyways prefer natural over synthetic. That is the basic premise of any product. I'm not talking just aroma chemicals, anything
Hmm.
that is available naturally. Yeah, the first, what you can say, the first decision you will take as a buyer is that I will buy natural, or even if it is organic, it's much more better than that. So you go for natural and organic products over synthetic products. So whenever we talk about any synthetic aroma chemicals, either it is giving us something which has a which has a lot of abundance, so that we can manufacture it all throughout the year without any problems. And the material has to be inexpensive because it has to offer the end customer an advantage over the natural aroma chemicals. So if it is not able to offer that advantage, then nobody is going to buy that synthetic aroma chemical. Also, apart from that, generally what we have seen is synthetic aroma chemicals are more purer than natural aroma chemicals. Suppose in natural aroma chemicals, there are some impurities that are there. In synthetic aroma chemicals, some of the chemicals you are like menthol is there. Companies are able to achieve a purity of 100%. While in natural aroma chemicals, we can only go up to 99.6 or 99.7% in purity. So therein lies the difference. And to be very honest, synthetic aroma chemicals only exist because there is a demand for it.
Hmm.
There is a price war that happens, and when there is a cheaper substitute which is available, which is at par in quality with the natural product, then only the people will buy it. In some of the markets that are like India and China, where
Hmm.
there is a kind of a price conscious customer, there it is easier to break into the market. Otherwise, the markets in Europe and US, they don't basically care about paying some extra for the natural or the organic product. So the quality of the synthetic aroma chemical has to be at par with natural aroma chemicals. Now, as far as our industry is concerned, or any industry in Delhi NCR, we are only allowed to use biomass briquettes. So biomass briquettes actually give you a negative carbon footprint. So we cannot run our industry on coal or wood or pet coke. We have to run our industry on biomass. So these are basically like they are made by remains of mustard, remains of groundnut, or remains of wood chips, which comes out of textile, the wood industry and all. So they all have a negative carbon footprint because this is agricultural waste, which is basically used by us to use it as fuel. So over there, the carbon footprint is decreasing. Now there are very much many stringent measures in place by the government for air and water pollution. So whenever you are doing, whenever you are running a boiler or a chimney, the deep stack, all the data goes to the government, the real time data. So they have instruments in place which goes to CPCB on a real time basis. So they are able to see how much what you can say any oxides like sulfur oxide and all what gases are produced which are harmful to the atmosphere, and they are being monitored very closely. So things are already moving into that direction. And when you talk about naturals as well, natural products also seep a lot of resources from our environment. For example, we talk about menthol itself. Menthol requires a lot of water. To manufacture 1 kg of menthol, natural menthol, you require at least 25 kgs of water for the crop. So it takes a lot of resources from your land as well. And you are seeing that there are problems with the water level in Chandigarh and all. There are talks about reducing the rice production in those areas because rice is a produce which takes about 40 kgs of water to produce 1 kg of rice. So the tabletop level of water is decreasing gradually. So when we talk about naturals, we don't discuss things like water level or the because then the drinking water will reduce for the whole human population.
Yes,
So
yes, absolutely.
it's a kind of a balancing act that needs to be done. I'm not just saying that synthetic is very good and everybody should use synthetic. I'm just saying that there has to be a synchronization or harmony between natural and synthetics to complete the world demand, because synthetic by itself cannot complete the whole world demand. There is a gap, and synthetic is basically sitting into that gap. It is not dislodging the natural. There is a gap in the market. There is a supply demand gap. There is where the synthetic is coming in and bridging that gap. You don't see any natural product left unsold in the market. Any chemical which is being produced or any synthetic product that has to be produced has to be evaluated on the whole 100% basis.
Hmm.
What makes some synthetic compounds unhealthy or harmful is the residual impurities that are there in the synthetic compound. Suppose I'm making a compound which is of 98% purity. It is not just necessary to know what that 98% would be fine. There would be no problem with that 98%, but one should know what the other 2% is, whether it has some kind of a toxic chemical or a hazardous chemical which is related to it, which might not be suitable for human consumption. So these things have to be taken care of. The residual impurities, the unidentified impurities, the organoleptic properties of the material have to be identified. So if these things are taken care of, I think synthetic can be at par with natural. But some of the companies, just to reduce the cost, they are not checking the whole profile of the chemical, and they are just using it as it is, which I won't basically propose, or I would not recommend that to happen. If all the checks are being completed, there are enough equipments, there are enough technology in the market to find out what is good and what is bad for you. It depends totally upon the person at the FMCG level or the person who is manufacturing it. They would themselves know what they are manufacturing, because that much testing and all is done just to save the cost. If it is used, suppose there is a product which is only conferring for its use to be for fragrance use. So see, for fragrance, a lot of products can be used which cannot be directly consumed by you. Okay, so
Yes,
a lot of products will pass on as a fragrance grade, but they will not pass as a flavor grade. Flavor means it is going to be consumed by you. So when they are not passing the flavor grade, there might be companies who might be using a fragrance grade product just to reduce their cost in a flavor grade application. So when that starts happening, you will see toxic chemicals entering the human chain, and that becomes a very big problem, because it is not just the mint derivatives. The chemicals you give to for your feed industry, your animal feed, which ultimately enters the human cycle in a very big way. So that is where the checks should happen. But there are things in place, but you find some rotten eggs in the basket. So
hmm,
that thing cannot be controlled. That is what I feel. But there are enough data, there is enough machinery, there are enough equipments in place to stop all that. A lot of companies nowadays are going for what you can say a totalitarian chemistry. So
hmm,
whatever the waste streams are being produced nowadays, the market is so competitive that you cannot just throw your waste stream out. You have to kind of like work with your waste stream and produce something which is of what you can say of economic value. So you have to produce value from all your chain. Nowadays, the market is so competitive that if I just make a product like from A to B and don't care about my waste stream, ultimately it is going to be bad for the economic health of my industry on a long-term basis. Ultimately, I can beat the competition only when I am looking at a product in a very total way, that I am consuming and making everything out of it from commercial value. When you talk about wastages, then those wastages would be a very cheap product which will be going into the market for very inferior uses. So I think it is good for any chemical manufacturer to streamline all their streams and make it of like good commercial value. And even when we talk about synthetic aroma chemicals, Some of the chemicals, because they have to mimic like natural products, and if they are synthetic, there has to be, if you're talking about blending, because right now you use the word blending
Yes,
in
yes.
synthetic aroma chemicals. So what happens in that case, that you have to use 20 to 30% of a natural product, so that you can have the same flavor profile and the fragrance profile, and 60 to 70% that then you use synthetic aroma chemicals. If you make 100% as synthetic aroma chemicals, because as I told you, those impurities cannot be mimicked. So you can make some product 98% similar to natural, but with my chemical process, it will not have the same impurity profile as that of the natural product. So there will be difference in smell and taste. So when that happens, you have to, when you are blending it, you have to use a lot of natural product along with synthetic product for it to taste and smell same as natural. There will be a
Okay.
slight change, but you can come close to the profile of the natural blend or that natural aroma chemical if you are using some natural product as a base.